What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Little Scale Cars YouTube channel. Today in the review box we have a new casting from Tarmac Works. Well, it's not really new anymore, but I'm reviewing it for the first time. This one is the Ferrari F40 LM, and let's go ahead and see if it's worth its price tag, because it does come a little bit pricey. So let's get into the review. So as always, let's go ahead and get started with our casting. Take a quick look. And I am happy to report that our proportions are quite nice. Nothing really looks off or wonky or anything like that. We will go ahead and pop the real life car up in the top right corner for comparison there. Now, what do we need to look at here? We need to look at what is metal and what is not. So the vast majority of what you see here is like a metal body. However, it is definitely a kind of a thinner metal. It doesn't have the same level of heft to it that other brands have. Our base is entirely plastic, which is a little disappointing. And then we have, of course, plastic mirrors. And then this majority of the wing section here is actually plastic as well. So overall, it's a good, healthy balance, I would say, of plastic and metal. But I would say, me personally, I prefer a metal base. I just like the heftiness that it gives. But we do have a very nicely detailed interior. There is an engine bay that you can see right through there. All the body lines that you would want to see are casted in very, very nicely. Behind these kind of front vents and intakes, there is meshing. You won't be able to see it, but it is there. There is a tow hook casted in there. In the back here, we do once again have meshing, which looks very, very good. And then on top of the roof here, we even get that little teeny tiny antenna, which is pretty cool to see, even if it is a little fragile. Moving into our paint and deco. So this is the number 40. This is the real life livery that this car rocked, I believe at LeMans one year. So, you know, you can't really fault Tarmac for going with this livery since it is a real life livery. Even though it's not really a livery I particularly love. But to be totally honest, this car never really ran with a livery that I particularly like. But this one has the most red, at least of the ones that have been released so far. And that's why I like it the best. Moving into our details. So up front here, we do get plastic headlights. They are just inserts. There's a little bit of detailing behind them that you can see, but not crazy. We do get a little plastic tow hook there that we mentioned. That looks really good. And we do get a Ferrari logo right there, right where it should be. Moving down to the side, we do get accurate wheels, and they even say Pirelli on the tires themselves, which is pretty cool. We got all the little sponsors and everything in its place. I would assume everything is actually there as it was on the real life car, but I'm not really going to examine it that closely. As mentioned before, the engine is visible in the back, and it does look very, very nice. That's one of the highlights, I would say, of this release, is that very nice visible engine. Into the rear section, though, we have one small hiccup. So we do have these taillights here. They are a plastic insert, and they actually look really good. They do sit in this meshing right here, which looks really good. And we once again have a Ferrari logo there, and we have Ferrari badging here. However, this section right here, this exhaust is just a tampo. Now, it doesn't look awful, but when you really look at it, like, compared to here and then how it just, yeah. For a $25 model, I don't see any reason that the exhaust should be tampoed instead of an actual piece. But it is what it is, I guess. On our top look down, we did mention the antenna. The windows have some detailing, and then we have our gas caps tampoed on here. Overall, pretty solid on the details. Moving into our roll test, most Hobby 64s don't roll. However, this one sort of kind of does. So the front wheels get a little stuck sometimes, but for the most part, they roll pretty smoothly. The back wheels roll perfectly fine, though. They're actually quite nice. Went ahead and put this one on the scale, and it came out to be 26.97 grams. So it is very lightweight, as I mentioned before. Moving into our pros and cons, getting started with our pros. The first big pro is the very accurate Deco. So again, I'm not a huge fan of this livery in general, but you got to give it props for the accuracy of the Deco itself, and then again, I'm assuming of all the sponsors and everything like that. Very cool to see. Not a whole lot of options for this car in that department in terms of accuracy. The other big pro I'm going to give it is that it actually rolls. Most hobby 64s do not roll at all, so this one having some good rolling qualities to it is pretty cool to see. Cons. What is becoming a pretty big trend for the Tarmac Works brand, it is overpriced. So this one was typically about $25 plus shipping. I did see it for some places selling it for about $20 plus shipping, so you're going to end up paying anywhere from $20 to $30 from this one, most likely. If you get it from a hobby dealer that's local, you might get it for about $20. But regardless, for the level of detail and the quality that you get, it's kind of pushing it. You know, you would get a little bit more detail from like a Mini GT or a CM model, and the Mini GT would be about half that price. The CM model would have more details at the similar price tag, so it's just a touch overpriced. The other big con that we mentioned already is that tampo for the exhaust. That is just simply inexcusable laziness. There's no reason why a $25 model cannot have an actual individual piece down there. That's just all there is to be said about that. For some quick size comparisons, here we have it with some other Ferrari models you might own, with the Tarmac Works Ferrari F40 GT and the Hot Wheels Ferrari F50. And here we have it with some other LeMans race cars, with the Mini GT McLaren F1 GTR and the Hot Wheels Ford GT LM. So now with all of that out of the way, it is now time for my final scores and thoughts. So the hype level for this one, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think a lot of people were really excited for this. Before this really came out, there really wasn't a lot of options for an F40 LM on the market. Not sure if there even was any options. But now that it's here, there's actually quite a few other brands doing it. Maybe perhaps with the licensing, perhaps not. The execution, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. There's a few things that it really missed on, that exhaust tampo being the biggest and most obvious. Community input, we went ahead and gave this one to the Council of Diecast to decide. Here are their scores, quite a few pretty high ones, a few on the lower side here. But overall, that's going to come out to be about an 8.6. So we're taking these three scores, adding them together, and we end up with an average of 8.7 out of 10 as our overall score here. And I think that's a very fitting score for this model. This model had a lot of hype that kind of went into it, and it ultimately just fell a little bit short of expectations. The details that we do get are very, very nice, but there are a few spots that really could have used some serious improvement. Quality control is another one that could have used improvement. I have seen some examples that were pretty bad. Tarmac is always very quick to mention that they have the official license from Ferrari, but they never seem to address the issues that the models have. They seem to blatantly ignore it, and they're not very good at listening to what their fans have to say. So that is something I would really hope that they will address in the future, for future releases especially, because this is a pretty good model, and it is extremely accurate. It just misses on just those handful of things, and it, again, is just a touch overpriced for the kind of cheap and lightweight feel that it has, especially. It's not as good as it could have been, and I think it really was a overall kind of a disappointment for a lot of people, even though it is still pretty good. But if you don't have this one yet, and you're looking for a very accurate F40 LM to just sit on your shelf and look good, this one is still a good option for you. And with that, guys, that is all I have for this review. I hope to see you in the next one. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and leave a comment down below telling me what your thoughts are on this particular model, and I will see you in the next video.